mean, I know you're expecting me to be like the pearl clutching woman, like, oh, think of the children. But like, Playboy has like the wonderful history of like harboring so many wonderful writers.
Yeah,
and like actually people that joke, you know, I read it for the articles, but really Hugh Hefner really was at a time pioneering like racial diversity and other viewpoints in the magazine. People like were really good writers, and it was a nice platform for them. Like, do I think that this new venture is going to bring that same unique perspective? I don't, but it's sort of like a cultural icon, and it just seems weird
but we
that
can
it's,
agree
that
that
it's
digital
going away.
consumption kind of knocked it off. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And not only I mean, like, this is not a problem just isolated to Playboy magazine. Magazines across the country, of course, have been folding, going down to quarterly newspapers. This is part of a growing trend. But one extreme disadvantage, like you kind of alluded to, Jordan, you can get pornography anywhere. I think that Playboy was for a lot of people.
I don't know what you're talking about, John.
I think Playboy was for, well, certainly us growing up. I can remember that, you know, I had two brothers. They would try and sneak magazines in the house. Of course, people
like
do.
That was nostalgia of it.
Right. Now, I don't know if that's how they made their money in the past, but I think that they've kind of lost, when they lost Hugh Hefner too, say what you will about him, whether you're pro or against what he was doing, he certainly was the icon of the magazine. So I think they're really struggling to find their identity. They went no nudity for a year from March 2016 to February, and
it was
that
more
didn't
like
last.
just artful Instagram photos.
Right.
It was just, like, weird.
So it'll be interesting to see how they progress moving forward. But I think that, and also this might be part of, I don't want to tie it necessarily to it, but you know, we have the Me Too movement, and of course we continue to fight and to strive for equal rights for women. There's a lot of powerful voices on that issue, of course, these days. Has the brand itself kind of lost its impact as this boys club sort of feel goes away?
Yeah, no Hugh Hefner. I think you definitely don't have that figurehead. I mean, look, the Playboy Mansion was an offshoot of this, that the parties, that also helped for visibility with this thing. Let me ask you this. If it's going to go quarterly, that's great because it makes it a little bit more exclusive, a little bit more rare of an offering. But if Blockbuster decided to come back in 2018 and say we're going to open our stores as pop-up shops 4 times a year, you might get a little bit of buzz, but ultimately it's not going to withstand because you still have Netflix, you still have every other way to consume, you still have the digital side, so it would lose. The only way I can see this model working, and I'm not trying to be crass here at all, it's really, truly, is if you get some network star that would never, ever take their clothes off, that would do a spread that you can say. I can't imagine this person ever doing something like this, and in the first quarter of 2019, you're going to get a chance to see that.
Right.
That's the only way I can see that.
I mean, or the one way to sort of fold in while you're talking about the whole Me Too thing, like what Beyonce did when she took over the Vogue September issue, is to maybe have women photographers, have women editors, have women writers, have, like, I mean, I'm all about expressing your body. I mean, if you are a naked person, be a naked person. But if you have women saying to the public, hey, we are in charge of the content and we're saying that this is okay, and then people feel better about it, then everybody wins.
Very third way, fourth way feminism. Jordan, have you ever looked at a Playboy?
I've not, but John, I'll tell you this, and Vonetta, I'll tell you this as well. Somebody needs to test this new brand that's coming out. So I'll be one of them to check it out.
26 North Halstead.
The first quarter release.
Jordan
I'll check it out and let you guys know how it goes.
How about that? Would you guys pose for Playgirl?
Sure.
Isn't the idea to make money? Isn't the idea to make money? I don't think I would. John would probably have success.
I'll do it by the end of the show if that's what we're I don't know if that'll drive the ratings up or down. We'll find out.
I was going to say, me naked, nobody wins there. I don't even think the page is big enough.
As long as it doesn't become a crutch. Let's say you've just been broken up with.
That old reliable feel.
Yes, and you're like, oh, I'm going back to that person because they make me feel safe again. They make me feel comfortable again. But I will say that there are certain relationships that maybe the personalities work together, maybe everything, but you're not at the right stage of your life to be together. If that's a situation where you're like, you know, this worked really well for us, but it wasn't the right timing, and you explore it that way, it just, if you're going to do it, the motivations have better be clear, but I've definitely never tried it.
I'm going to need the receipts. I'm going to need the fact that you've been in intensive therapy. I'm going to need a letter from your mama saying that you are going to act right. I'm going to need a letter from your boys saying that they will not take you out anymore. Like, I'm going to need like a whole list of things for me to sign off on this. No, but for some people, John's absolutely right. Like, if people grow, people change, life experiences after time apart. And for some people, I mean, they are just destined to be together, you know, fated to be together, and they come back and appreciate it even more, I've been told.
Well, exes become exes for a reason, right? Like, for the most part, it doesn't work out because you weren't the right fit. However, sometimes it's about timing, and maybe the timing wasn't right. You met them too young.
Sure.
And you
or
find
people
them later in
sometimes
life.
get scared about how deep their feelings are.
True. In my personal experience, they've been exes for a reason simply because it wasn't compatible.
Right.
And it wasn't right. And I don't think I could see a time where it comes back and it is right. There's just fundamentally things that were wrong. that didn't work in 1998, that aren't going to work in 2007, that surely aren't going to work in 2025.
But for every you and me that says they'll never do it, I do hear a lot of stories of people that went on a date early, went on a couple dates, or were in a relationship. Not to call my mom and dad out, but I know they dated a little bit at the end of high school, early college. They broke up for a time, and then they ended up back together. So there are situations where it works.
Oh my gosh, you guys, even Will and Kate, they broke up and then they got back together. You guys are now
not the royal family mention.
Yes.
I'll tell you this, John, there is something to that because we were talking about, those on and off again relationships and how they can be toxic. And I did champion for the fact that you sometimes need to walk away to see how important that truly is to you.
Sure.
Were you only in it because it was habitual, because it was easy, because it just whatever, you were too lazy to go find something else?
footlongs.
Yeah. You walk away, you're able to come back and see, yes, this was the right thing.
Right.
I now know how to contribute the right way, and so does my significant other. And then you can really make magic.
Right.
So, you know what? You talked me into it here. I just flipped.
All right.
I agree with you.
We flipped you.
The love of the Hanson pair is what got me in there. You said your mother and father did it.
There you go.
Well, then I can go along with this one.
I was all ready to be like, what are you doing? Come on. And then I'm like, you know what? You spent $40,000 on this wedding.
John, it's in Greece. She's from America. She took 8 people over to Greece.
It must have been a wonderful vacation. I'm just saying the marrying yourself thing is a little extreme, but at the same time, she's celebrating herself, being single. She already paid this money. I guess what the hey? Do what you want. Have some people celebrate.
There better be an open bar at that wedding.
Look, as a single woman who's getting to an age where it's people starting to worry, the way that the article was written, like it should have even been more of a celebration of her, because it just like one sad sentence. She also froze her eggs, and she was given a cat as she left the island. No, it's like talk about like how awesome she is. Talk about like what she does, and that she's doing the damn thing on her own, and she's celebrating. Like I would just roam around the island being like, where are all the single Greek men at? Stavros, come at me.
Little Mamma Mia action going on.
Stavros, come at me. But like just the way it's written, the lens that we look at single women and the expectations of society. Like I'm not mad at her. I support her. I raise my glass to her.
See, then I hope this isn't a sexist thing. I just think she seems crazy. Like, and I'd say it about a guy if they did it. Like, I
that
feel
was
like
my initial reaction, though,
I
too.
feel like it's crazy. I love that you guys are going glass half full. I'm looking at this saying, you dragged 8 people along on a ride of this miserably depressing thing.
But look at the
I already think it's a waste of money, and I'm engaged. I'd rather just spend my life in love rather than spend all this money on a wedding. She had an out. The guy called it off. She should have been like, cool, give me the cash. I'm going on a girls trip. I'm also putting this money down for a new car and for a new home. I just think it's a colossal waste. And how miserable, though, you got to be honest. How miserable was it as she's walking down the aisle?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like everyone's trying to
I
paint her with this brush of that it's like the saddest, spinsteriest thing ever. And she was like, look, I look good in this dress. I paid for this photographer. I'm going to eat this buffet. And you are not going to say anything about it. Like I say, like, let's remove the lens of that this has to be an inherently sad situation. And I mean, she didn't ask for it to get picked up by, the Associated Press or whatever.
Right.
Like,
what did the first dance look like?
Single ladies.
Yeah, how miserable would that be? If you like it, then you better put a ring on his play.
Whatever.
And she's just out there. All right, you guys, you give me pause with this one. Maybe it wasn't the worst idea.